What's up guys, and welcome back to another Chainsaw Man chapter review. I just cleaned my room for the first time in like 2 years, so you get to see an actual studio background this time rather than just my regular panels. Today we're going to be talking about the two new implications behind the War Devil's powers, the slight differences between the English and Japanese versions of chapter 101, and also the true meaning behind the War Devil's new name, Yoru. But before any of that, class is once again in session. I've linked the poll at the top of the description of this video where you guys can vote on what grade you think this new chapter of Chainsaw Man should get: A, B, C, D, or F. And in next week's chapter review video, we'll go over the overall chapter GPA of the previous chapter, as well as some of your guys' comments on this video right here. Speaking of which, let's just quickly look at your guys' thoughts of chapter 100. After doing the calculations for chapter 100's GPA, there has been a considerable drop from chapter 98 to 99 to 100. This time you guys gave it a chapter GPA of 3.38. That's not a bad GPA at all. That's still better than any GPA I got in college. But man, everywhere I went online, y'all were haters for chapter 100. I know I baited the title of my last chapter review where it was like something like "Still No Deji," but I mean, do we care that much? I'm gonna keep it real with you guys, and feel free to roast me for this if you want. Chapter 100 has been my favorite chapter of part 2 so far. I'm just saying, I thought the characterization was really good. I loved the feeling, the emotion, the drama behind it. I just thought it was really good. Clearly, I'm in the minority on that, at least as far as poll voters go. But still, 3.38 is not a terrible GPA. Some people are just professional haters out there. But you also left some pretty good comments on that video, so I'm gonna quickly look at a few of those. Fishcake says, I personally loved this chapter because it gave focus to building up a possible friendship between Mitaka and Yuko. And as the pinned comment says, it felt like his other one-shots. Plus, the story can't stay at 100 every chapter. It has to slow down and pace so those payoffs can be greater. And like I said before, I completely agree with the sentiment. It doesn't have to be at 100% balls to the walls all the time. I know we're gonna get this action eventually, but I love the drama, the slow, the build-up, the slice of life. I thought it was great. Next up, Cyclone of Blood, who is someone I've known on this channel for quite a long time, says, lots of Chainsaw Man videos in a row. And he is right about that. I'm pretty sure my past 10 or 11 videos in a row have just been Chainsaw Man or Fujimoto related. The way I've been posting videos on my channel feels like eating my favorite food every day for like 2 weeks in a row. Sure, it's my favorite food and I love to eat it, but every now and then I want to eat something else as well. So coming very soon, there will be more than just Chainsaw Man videos. I'm gonna go back to diversifying my content a little bit. But this is a Chainsaw Man video, so let's keep going with the Chainsaw Man. Santa Rider says, if you look at Yuko and one of the public devil safety hunters, Kusakabe, they look similar, what you said before. This might mean that Yuko came to be a devil hunter club to avenge her brother slash father slash whatever. It could also be that she wants to live in the legacy of Kusakabe. And it's interesting you said that, because I am going to get into that a little more later in the video, so stick around and we'll talk about that. That's about all for your guys' comments today, but remember to leave your thoughts down in the comments below for this video, and maybe we'll talk about it in next week's chapter review. And while you're down in the description checking out the voting link, why don't you leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you like Chainsaw Man related content. Alrighty, now that the shameless YouTuber behavior is out of the way, let's talk about chapter 101 of Chainsaw Man. So first of all, I think we can all agree that Fujimoto was cooking up something fierce for this chapter. My tummy already hurts from the anxiety I feel for all of these characters. Most of all though for Yuko, because she's the most obviously planted deathbait character I've seen in any series ever. Let's become devil hunter partners in the future. You sick fuck making us think there's a snowball's chance in hell. Yuko has more flags than your conservative neighbor has on his lawn. She has more death flags than an anime mom. But I also loved that Yuko said she wanted to be a devil hunter so she could make a lot of money without having to get a college degree. As someone that has a college degree that hasn't necessarily paid off yet, that shit's a fucking scam! And I know I joked about it last chapter, but Yuko might actually be Kusakabe's daughter from part 1. She mentioned that her parents were killed by devils, and Kusakabe was killed by the Darkness Devil in part 1. We don't know if Kusakabe had a wife or daughter or anything. This actually could just be completely unrelated characters that look alike. But Fujimoto's cooking, so I'm gonna let him cook. Yuko's numerous death flags aside, I did want to quickly talk about the two new facets of the War Devil's powers and their possible implications. First of all, the guiltier you feel about turning someone into a weapon, the stronger the weapon will be. Denji and Mitaka relationship theorist, I sense danger on the horizon. But this confirms that the War Devil sometimes feels guilty about who she kills and turns into weapons. humanizing her further. I know we talked about last week how the War Devil seems to actually care for Mitaka, so this only adds to how human the War Devil's personality feels. This is most of what's making my tummy hurt, though. This is basically a Chekhov's gun. We can all but confirm that someone we know and love in this manga is gonna get killed and turned into a weapon by the War Devil. The next huge thing we learned is that the War Devil can't take over Mitaka's body if she's scared. First of all, imagine how fucking useless the War Devil would be if she found Kobeni instead of Mitaka. But this is still a pretty huge limitation on what the War Devil will be able to do in battle, because I don't know that many high schoolers that wouldn't be scared shitless in the face of a massive human-killing monster. So what if Mitaka starts to remain in constant fear of what the War Devil will do while controlling her body? Will Mitaka get to control her body forever? I don't know. I'm thinking about these things now. But this also shows that the War Devil might not have as much control over Mitaka's body as we thought. A small but very easily overlookable detail I wanted to talk about real quick is Yoshida's absence from school. Hardly anything in this manga is mentioned without some kind of implication. Fujimoto loves his Chekhov's guns. I'm certain it's nothing huge, but maybe Yoshida's off with Denji hunting some high-profile devil or something. They could even be hunting the newly returned Bat Devil. Though to me he looks a little more like the Francisco Goya's painting of Saturn devouring his Sun Devil. You should follow me on Twitter for more quirky memes and observations like that. I know everyone's foaming at the mouth for Denji to return, so maybe Yoshida and Denji will save Mitaka and Yuko Deus Ex Machina style in the next chapter. I know the Bat Devil kind of feels like the elephant in the room for chapter 101, but I actually don't have too much to say about him. I know some people were saying on Twitter, how is the Bat Devil alive? I thought he died in part 1, but we all kind of had the expectation already that devils can die in the real world and respawn in hell and then die and come back. Essentially, there will be an endless stream of devils dying in the real world, then respawning in hell, then dying in hell, and respawning in the real world forever and ever until Chainsaw Man kills and eats all of them. So rest assured, Bucky fans, the king will return to us someday. Okay, so I saved the biggest thing I wanted to talk about for last, and that is the true meaning behind the War Devil's new name and the slight differences I noticed between reading the English and Japanese versions of chapter 101. First of all, the War Devil revealed her new name, Yoru, which means night in Japanese. I'm certain there are dozens of meanings and theories that can be made with this information alone, but to me this does more to characterize the fact that the War Devil is quite the chunibyo. Her telling Mitaka that her name is Yoru is the equivalent of someone coming up to you and saying, "My name is Night." Yoru is essentially a cringy middle schooler with the power to commit mass genocide. I'm not even sure if I'm joking or not at this point. Yoru has the most personality of any devil we've met thus far, and it's hard to tell where her human-like properties end and her devil ones begin, thus making her seem kind of like a cringy middle schooler. But the Japanese version doesn't just help characterize Yoru, it actually shows a little bit more about Mitaka's personality and her slight immaturities. In the English version of chapter 101, Mitaka says that she doesn't like being called girl by Yoru, but in the Japanese version, Yoru doesn't call her girl, she actually calls her omae, which is a bit of a rude way to say you in Japanese. Not every instance of someone calling you omae is gonna be outright rude, I'm not gonna get into that today, but because Mitaka is a good girl, she doesn't necessarily like being referred to as omae. But Mitaka refers to other people as anta, which is also a somewhat impolite way to call someone you, so that just shows that she herself isn't the most mature person in the world. I always like to read the new chapters of Chainsaw Man twice through in English, then once through in Japanese before making these review videos, just so I get a better understanding of the story and the characters. But overall, it's been a pretty eye-opening experience. Maybe someday I'll make a video going over the biggest differences between the English version and the Japanese versions of Chainsaw Man if you guys are interested in seeing the slight differences between every chapter. But that's about all for today's chapter review video. If you like this series, let me know by liking this video and subscribing to my channel, that way I can make more. Make sure to stay up to date by hitting the bell button down below so you'll know every time I post a new chapter review video, as well as all the other quirky little videos I make. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter, I have links to that down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye! Fuck, that was stupid.